The alien jeers and mockery were deafening, until the ancient human warship's engines exploded into an earth-shattering roar, silencing the extraterrestrial hecklers in an instant. In the bustling alien bazaar on planet Selay, trinkets, baubles, and advanced xenotech stretched as far as the eye could see. But one relic stood apart from the rest, the rusted hull of an ancient human warship, long thought lost to the mists of time. "You can't be serious. You expect me to believe that primitive scrap heap can fly?" scoffed Rigel, a high-ranking Selay military leader. The grey-skinned alien circled the ship, poking at blast holes and sneering at the archaic weapons. "I'd bet my fortune this extinct species relic never flies again." "I'll take that bet, sir," a voice called out from the human relic dealer's booth. Robert Rogers emerged from the shadows, a determined glint in his eye as he approached the warship. "I've spent years studying this vessel. With the right modifications, she'll purr like a kitten. A deadly spacefaring kitten." Rigel threw his head back and cackled. "Very well, foolish human. If you fail, your shop and wares are forfeit. The galaxy will forever remember your species as backwards primates, toying with relics you can't begin to understand." As the alien's ultimatum rang out, Robert clenched his jaw. This was his shot to prove humanity's ingenuity and spirit to the doubting masses. If he couldn't get this battleship roaring to life, mankind's memory would be forever tarnished. He had to succeed. The stakes set, the human relic expert darted into the warship, sparks flying as he worked to resurrect humanity's snarling Warbeast. The crowd's whispers swelled with speculation. Would this be the human's greatest triumph, or his final folly? Only time would tell. The alien jeers and mockery were deafening, until the ancient human warship's engines exploded into an earth-shattering roar, silencing the extraterrestrial hecklers in an instant. News of Robert's audacious bet spread like wildfire through the bustling bazaar. It wasn't long before word reached the ears of the Selay military's top brass. Intrigued by the prospect of unraveling the secrets of human warfare, they dispatched a team of their most brilliant scientists to observe Robert's progress. Dr. Zora, a striking Selay female with piercing eyes and a razor-sharp intellect, led the delegation. Though she greeted Robert with a cordial smile, her true motives were far more insidious. The Selay Empire had long sought to expand its reach, and the knowledge locked within this archaic vessel could prove invaluable in their conquest of the stars. At first, Robert was wary of the scientist's presence. He worked tirelessly, his hands blackened with grease and his brow slick with sweat, as he coaxed life back into the ship's dormant systems. But as the days turned to weeks, he began to realize that the Selay's advanced technology could be the key to unlocking the warship's full potential. One evening, as the bazaar's neon lights cast an eerie glow over the ancient hull, Robert approached Dr. Zora with a proposition. "I know you're not just here to watch me work," he said, his voice low and measured. "But I think we can help each other. I'll share what I learn about the ship's systems, but in exchange I need access to your resources and expertise." Dr. Zora's eyes narrowed, a predatory gleam flickering behind her gaze. "A fair trade," she purred. "You have a deal, human." As the repairs progressed, Robert stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the bowels of the ship. Inside, he discovered a treasure trove of human military archives, detailing long-forgotten battles and weapons of unimaginable power. But it was the chamber's centerpiece that truly captured his attention, a mysterious locked container, its surface adorned with strange symbols and glyphs. Robert became consumed with unlocking the container's secrets, poring over the archives late into the night. He kept his discoveries close to his chest, much to the frustration of the Selay scientists. As tensions mounted, Dr. Zora's patience began to wear thin. "You're testing our generosity, human," she warned, her voice as cold as the void of space. "We had an agreement. If you continue to withhold information, we may have to resort to more persuasive methods." Robert knew he was running out of time. He had to complete the repairs and unravel the mystery of the container before the Selay lost patience and seized the warship for themselves. With a newfound sense of urgency, he threw himself into his work, pushing his mind and body to their limits. Days turned into weeks as Robert pored over the military archives, searching for any clue that might help him crack the mysterious container's code. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, and his hands ached from endless tinkering, but still, he persisted. Dr. Zora and her team watched from the shadows, their patience wearing thin as the human guarded his secrets. Just as all seemed lost, a sudden epiphany struck Robert like a bolt of lightning. His fingers flew across the container's keypad, inputting a complex sequence of symbols and glyphs. With a hiss of hydraulics, the lid cracked open, revealing a treasure trove of advanced human weapons technology. But it was the container's centerpiece that truly took Robert's breath away, a sleek black cube, pulsing with an eerie blue light. "Greetings, Specialist Rogers," a disembodied voice emanated from the cube. "I am Ares Autonomous Robotic Engagement System, a fully functional AI combat assistant. This warship, designation Prometheus, was part of a top-secret human military project aimed at creating an unstoppable fighting force. My primary directive is to aid in the restoration and operation of this vessel." Robert's heart raced as he carefully lifted Ares from the container. With trembling hands, he integrated the AI into the ship's systems, watching in awe as dormant consoles flickered to life and long silent engines hummed with renewed purpose. The restoration process, once a grueling, near-impossible task, now accelerated at a breakneck pace. As the Prometheus neared completion, Rigel's suspicions grew to a fever pitch. He stormed into Dr. Zora's makeshift lab, his eyes blazing with fury. "What is the meaning of this secrecy?" he demanded, slamming his fist against a workbench. "You were supposed to uncover the human's secrets, not aid him in his endeavors." Dr. Zora met Rigel's gaze, her own eyes steely with determination. "I have come to respect Robert and his dedication to this project," she replied, her voice calm and measured. "He is not the primitive creature you make him out to be. There is much we can learn from him and his species." Rigel snarled, his face contorting with rage. "You've gone soft, Zora. You've forgotten your true purpose here." He turned on his heel, storming out of the lab. "I will not let this human make a fool of me." Under the cover of night, Rigel crept aboard the Prometheus, a sinister plan taking shape in his mind. He made his way to the ship's power core, his hands trembling as he planted a small, innocuous device deep within the humming machinery. With a final, malicious grin, he slipped away, eagerly awaiting the moment when the human's hopes would be dashed upon the rocks of failure. But Rigel's sabotage attempt backfired spectacularly. The device, intended to overload the power core and cripple the ship, instead triggered a chain reaction that sent a massive explosion rippling through the bazaar. Flames licked at the ancient hull, and debris rained down upon the panicked crowds as the once peaceful market descended into chaos. Amidst the smoke and screams, Robert fought his way to the Prometheus's bridge, his heart hammering in his chest. With a desperate cry, he slammed his hand against the emergency activation panel, praying that the ship's systems had not been compromised. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a deafening roar, the Prometheus shuddered to life, its engines flaring with the blue-white glow of human ingenuity. As the ship rose from the rubble, its weapon systems whirred and clicked, locking onto the Sele security forces, swarming the bazaar. Robert stood at the helm, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and trepidation as he realized the true power he now commanded. The Sele hierarchy, once dismissive of human potential, now trembled at the sight of the fully operational warship bristling with advanced weaponry. Robert's fingers danced across the command console, his eyes locked on the view screen, as the Prometheus tore through the burning ruins of the bazaar. Plasma bolts sizzled past the hull, the Sele security forces unleashing a barrage of fire in a desperate attempt to bring down the human warship. "Helries, divert power to the rear shields and prime the ion cannons," Robert barked, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. "Affirmative, Specialist Rogers. Engaging evasive maneuvers." The AI's response was calm and precise, a stark contrast to the frenzied shouts of the Sele forces filling the comms. The Prometheus banked hard, its engines flaring as it sliced through the smoke-filled sky. Robert's knuckles whitened as he gripped the controls, guiding the ship through a series of tight turns and rolls. The Selay ships struggled to keep pace, their bulkier frames no match for the human vessel's agility. "Incoming transmission from the Selay command ship, Specialist Rogers," Ares reported, its voice cutting through the din of battle. Rigel's face flickered onto the view screen, his features contorted with rage. "Surrender now, human, and I may spare your life," he spat, his eyes blazing with hatred. Robert's jaw tightened. "I don't think so, Rigel. You underestimated humanity once. I won't let you make that mistake again." With a flick of his wrist, Robert severed the connection, refocusing his attention on the task at hand. The Prometheus shuddered as a plasma bolt grazed its shields, the deck plating vibrating beneath his feet. "Shields at 60% and falling," Ares warned, its voice laced with urgency. Robert's mind raced, years of studying ancient Earth battles flashing through his thoughts. "Ares, scan for any nearby asteroids or debris fields. We need to even the odds." The AI's response was immediate. "Detecting a dense asteroid field at coordinates 2.7.9. Plotting course now." The Prometheus surged forward, weaving through the Selay ships as it raced towards the asteroids. Rigel's fleet gave chase, their weapons pounding against the human ship's weakening shields. As the Prometheus plunged into the asteroid field, Robert's eyes narrowed, his hands flying over the controls. The ship danced between the tumbling rocks, its hull scraping against jagged edges as it threaded a path through the treacherous terrain. The Selay ships, less maneuverable and unused to such hazards, struggled to keep up. One by one they fell victim to the asteroids, their hulls crumpling like tin cans as they collided with the unyielding stone. "Selay fleet reduced by 30%, Ares reported, a hint of satisfaction in its synthetic voice. Robert allowed himself a small smile, but it was short-lived. The Prometheus rocked violently, sparks cascading from overloaded consoles as a lucky shot from a Selay ship found its mark. "Critical damage to the port engine," Ares warned, its voice garbled by static. "Shields failing, hull breach imminent." Robert gritted his teeth, his mind racing. "Ares, scan for the nearest human settlement. We need to get out of here now." The AI paused for a moment, its processors whirring. Nearest human outpost located, Gemini Station, a remote mining facility on the fringes of Selay space. Coordinates locked. With a final desperate surge of power, the Prometheus burst from the asteroid field, its battered hull groaning under the strain. The remaining Selay ships, their numbers greatly diminished, fell back, unwilling to risk further losses. As the Prometheus limped towards Gemini Station, Robert slumped back in his chair, his heart pounding in his chest. They had escaped, but only just. The ship was badly damaged, its systems flickering on the edge of failure. The Prometheus drifted into Gemini Station's docking bay, the once sleek warship now a patchwork of scorch marks and hastily welded repairs. As the airlock hissed open, Robert stepped out into the station's dimly lit interior, his legs unsteady after the brutal battle. A crowd of human settlers, their faces gaunt and eyes hollow from years of Selay oppression, gathered around the battered ship. Whispers rippled through the throng as they took in the sight of the ancient warship, a relic of their lost homeland. "Is it true?" a grizzled miner asked, his voice rough with emotion. "Did you really stand up to the Selay?" Robert nodded, his throat tight. "We did. And we won't stop until every human in the galaxy is free from their tyranny." A cheer went up from the crowd, their voices rising in a defiant roar. For the first time in generations, the spark of hope kindled in their hearts. As word of Robert's victory spread like wildfire through the human settlements, long-dormant resistance cells burst into action. In hidden bases and secret meetings they gathered, united by a common purpose, to overthrow the Selay and reclaim their destiny among the stars. The seeds of rebellion had been sown, and the galaxy would never be the same. The flames of rebellion spread like wildfire across the human settlements, fueled by the hope Robert's victory ignited. In hidden bases and makeshift shipyards, a ragtag fleet of human resistance fighters rallied around the Prometheus, their spirits bolstered by the sight of the legendary warship. Robert stood at the helm, his eyes hardened by the weight of his newfound responsibility. With Ares at his side, he led the resistance in a series of daring raids against Sele military installations. They struck swiftly and without mercy, their weapons blazing as they stormed the enemy's strongholds. "Take every weapon, every scrap of tech you can find," Robert ordered, his voice ringing out over the chaos of battle. "We'll need everything we can get our hands on if we're going to stand a chance against the Sele." The resistance fighters moved like a well-oiled machine, their determination fueled by a lifetime of oppression. They stripped the Sele bases of their defenses, leaving nothing but smoldering ruins in their wake. But their success was short-lived. In the shadows, Rigel seethed, his once pristine uniform now tattered and stained with the disgrace of his defeat. He pored over the reports of the human insurgency, his eyes blazing with an all-consuming obsession. "So I want that human's head on a spike," he snarled, his fist slamming against the console. "I don't care how many ships we lose. I don't care how many lives are sacrificed. I will not rest until I've crushed this rebellion and ground that damned human into dust." Rigel's opportunity came sooner than expected. Through a network of spies and informants, he learned of a secret meeting between Robert and Dr. Zora, who had been supplying the resistance with vital intelligence on Sele movements. With a cruel smile, Rigel set his trap, luring Robert and his fleet into a remote corner of space with the promise of a major Sele weapons cache. As the resistance ships emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves surrounded by a massive Sele armada, their weapons primed and ready to fire. The battle was brutal and unforgiving. The resistance fighters fought with the courage of the damned, their ships weaving and dodging through the hail of Sele fire. The Prometheus was a force to be reckoned with, its advanced weapons tearing through the enemy's shields like tissue paper. But even the mighty human warship was not invincible. As the battle raged on, the Prometheus took hit after hit, its hull buckling under the relentless onslaught. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the screams of the wounded filled the air. In the heart of the chaos, Robert stood firm, his hands gripping the helm as he fought to keep the Prometheus in the fight. But as he watched his fellow resistance fighters fall one by one, their ships consumed by the fiery embrace of Sele weapons, a grim realization settled over him. They were hopelessly outmatched. The Sele armada was too vast, their firepower too overwhelming. If the resistance was to survive, if the dream of human freedom was to endure, he would have to make the ultimate sacrifice. "Orcs, initiate the evacuation protocols," Robert ordered, his voice steady despite the anguish tearing at his heart. "Get every last member of the crew to the escape pods, now." The AI's response was immediate, a note of concern tinging its synthetic voice. "But Specialist Rogers, what about you? The odds of survival if you remain on board are—" "I know the odds, Ares," Robert said softly. "But this is bigger than me, it always has been. The resistance needs time to regroup, to find a new leader, and I'm going to give it to them." With a heavy heart, Robert watched as his crew fled the doomed warship, their escape pods jettisoning into the void. Then, with a final, defiant roar, he turned the Prometheus towards Rigel's flagship, the sleek Sele dreadnought looming before him like a harbinger of death. "You wanted me, Rigel," Robert muttered, his eyes locked on the enemy ship. "Come and get me." Ignoring RS' increasingly frantic warnings, Robert punched the throttle, sending the Prometheus hurtling towards the Sele flagship. Time seemed to slow as the two massive ships closed the distance, their hulls glinting in the starlight. In those final moments, as the blinding flash of the impact consumed him, Robert's thoughts turned to the brave men and women of the resistance, to the hope he had kindled in their hearts. They would carry on, he knew, even in the face of overwhelming odds. For he had shown them the truth, that even a single defiant human, armed with nothing but courage and an unbreakable will, could stand against the might of an alien empire and light the fires of revolution. The explosion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Prometheus and Rigel's flagship vanished in a cataclysmic blast of light and fire, their twisted remnants hurled outward in a maelstrom of molten debris. The shockwave slammed into the remaining ships like a hammer of the gods, sending them tumbling end over end. Warriors on both sides staggered and reeled, their weapons forgotten as they struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what had just occurred. In the stunned silence that followed, the resistance fleet made a hasty retreat. With Robert's sacrifice fresh in their minds, they vanished into the void, scattering to the far corners of the galaxy. The Selay, their leadership decapitated and their forces in disarray, could do nothing but watch as their quarry slipped through their grasp. But amidst the chaos and confusion, a single figure emerged from the shadows. Her once pristine Selay uniform now stained with the blood of fallen comrades, Dr. Zora stood tall, her eyes shining with a newfound resolve. She had seen the truth in Robert's actions, the indomitable spirit of humanity laid bare. And in that moment, she knew her path was clear. Gathering the tattered remnants of the resistance, Dr. Zora vowed to carry on Robert's legacy. She would be the light in the darkness, the beacon of hope for all those who yearned for freedom from Selay tyranny. The war was far from over. The road ahead would be long and treacherous, fraught with hardships and sacrifices. But with Dr. Zora at the helm, and the memory of Robert's sacrifice burning bright in their hearts, the resistance would never yield. They would fight on, in the name of all those who had fallen, until every last human in the galaxy was free from the yoke of alien oppression. For in the end, it was not the strength of their ships or the power of their weapons that would decide the fate of humanity, but the indomitable will of the human spirit, the unyielding determination to rise from the ashes and grasp their destiny among the stars. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.